I mean, but who else is going to inform the people, right? They need people like us. Richard, I have learned that not enough people listen to us when we talk to them. And I mean, we've got great listeners. We got great sponsors.
Like, it feels a little high and mighty.
I know. And I felt bad thinking this earlier today. But, man, after reading Dan Wetzel's story, which Dan and I had a nice back and forth, a short one on Twitter last night. But some of us, guys like Wetzel, but guys like Andy Staples, but more importantly to our audience, us, have been talking for 2 years about when NIL comes, because it's going to come. Why did we know that was going to happen? Because there's too many lawsuits and they're going to give in. It's going to happen. They're going to give in. They're not going to fight it anymore because they'd rather it happen this way as opposed to making the players employees and having a revenue share. It was always going to happen. And for that entire time, anytime it was brought up, we kept trying to tell people the hysteria is unfounded in logic. But then you have guys, oh, well, Nick Saban's worried about competitive balance. We should listen to him. Yeah, the guy that's dominated the sport for over a decade, who gets any player he wants, who is always going to the playoff, who's winning 6 championships, that guy's worried about competitive balance? Listen to yourself. You think he cares about if Vanderbilt can compete with him? Of course not. We know now, because we've had NIL for 2 years, that although very slightly, the top talent in terms of recruiting is spread out more than it has been in the previous 10 years before NIL. We tried to tell you guys that. Oh, but the schools like Alabama are going to get all the great players. They already did. It already happened. Nothing has changed. In fact, again, it's slight. It's just a few players in the top 100. But of the top 100 players in last year's recruiting class and this one, fewer of them are going to the top 5 than in the previous 10 years before NIL. It feels chaotic and the portal's nuts and all that, but in terms of recruiting and who's going to be able to get players, nothing has changed at all. If anything, talent is a little bit more spread out than it was previously, just like we spent 2 years trying to tell you. And the data backs up what we were saying. Nothing has changed.
And you got Alabama with the number 1 recruiting class, and I actually would point you back to this summer, right? You remember when the world went crazy because Nick Saban took a shot at Jimbo? And do you remember what we said in the aftermath? Hold on. Okay. We love the headlines, right? We had fun with it like everybody did. Saban goes after Jimbo. And then Jimbo has his little tirade press conference. That had nothing to do, I won't say nothing. That had little to do with Nick Saban being mad at Jimbo. That had everything to do with Nick Saban sounding the collection plate gong for Alabama fans. It was, we're not part of this, we're going to get left behind. And he was able to very publicly point out that Texas A&M bought its entire recruiting class, which rankled the feathers of Jimbo, clearly. But it wasn't about calling out Jimbo. It was about sounding the alarm to his own fan base that if we are going to sustain what we have been, we have to do this. Do you think they responded?
I think the number 3 recruiting class of all time, I think. So, obviously number 1 this year.
Yeah. Alabama just went out and put together the number 1 recruiting class in the country. And they're not done, right? I mean, they're gonna add to it.
They'll transfer some portal. Guys. Yeah.
They're gonna go. So Alabama goes 5-star safety, 5-star edge rusher, 4-star offensive tackle, 5-star defensive lineman, 5-star linebacker, 4-star running back, 4-star cornerback, 4-star wide receiver, 4-star edge rusher, 4-star running back. Oh, 2 of them in the same class? Yeah, okay. How are you going to split the carries? We'll figure that out later. 4-star safety. 5-star wide receiver. Out of Kansas.
It's Alabama, man.
Malik Benson. Lansing, Kansas. 5-star wide receiver. Where you going, kid? Bama.
Don't blame him. Telling you.
4-star edge rusher. 4-star quarterback. Where? Zachary, Louisiana.
The reports of Nick Saban's demise were greatly exaggerated. It's going to go down like this until he's gone. It is.
Hey, now why? Tell me this. Why'd they take a 3-star offensive lineman? Oh, he's from East St. Louis? And he's 6'6", 373 pounds? Oh. You going to bet against Miles McVay at Alabama in that strength and conditioning program? Let's see. Windsor, Connecticut. 6'5.5", 325-pound offensive tackle, 4 stars out of Windsor, Connecticut. It's wherever they want to go. Owasso, Oklahoma. Ocean Springs, Mississippi. Bray Hubbard is one of 4 3-star players in this class. I'm not sure that Bray Hubbard is going to be a safety this year, but there are people that have been around him and have coached him in some of these extra games and said, man, kid's special. Doesn't throw it well enough to play quarterback at the next level. He's not being recruited as a quarterback. Probably has some learning to do, but his game speed is faster than his, 40 speed. Like some guys, right, Borky, you get them down and get them ready to do the laser time thing, and they run really fast. And then you put a helmet and pads and whatever else on, and their game speed is different. They said, this guy's fast, and then his game speed is actually a tick better. And he's maybe bigger than you gave him credit for, 6'1", 195. Talking about prototypical safety size.